This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to What Happened When? With the voice of your childhood, Tony Schiavone. Tony, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm all right this morning. How you doing, buddy?
Man, better than I deserve.
Yeah, probably. But anyway, you deserve a lot because we are certainly enjoying what we're doing and going back and taking a look at 1986. And obviously some of our featured players remain the same: Dusty, Flair, Horseman, the Boogie Woogie Man, Shaska, Paul Jones, the Raging Bull, Manny Fernandez, the Rock and Roll Express, Jim Cornette. Am I missing anybody? Oh, the Russians and Magnum. Same players, but pretty good stories. And it's pretty interesting how they kind of meld the storylines here, don't you think? I mean, you'll have Flair talking about Dusty and then talking about Ronnie Garvin as well, and then talking about the Rock and Roll Express, and then the Road Warriors talking about. So anyway, they just kind of, it's not one major storyline, is it, here?
No, there's a ton of storylines, and I like that they're all getting sort of interwoven. Everybody has their own sort of angle or direction. And I think when people talk about, this is probably important to mention, because I feel like in wrestling so often people think about the two big booms as being, the mid to late 80s, and then of course the late 90s with the Attitude Era. And one thing we hear consistently as a compliment about Vince Russo, because Lord knows everybody has their fair share of criticism, but it's not all negative.
Right.
He made everybody on the show had a storyline.
Sure.
Everybody on the show had a purpose. Every match on the show had stakes. Now, maybe he took it too far and there were too many gimmick matches, and okay, that's a fair criticism, I suppose. But what it meant was the undercard mattered and everybody had a storyline.
Right.
And I don't know. I just feel like that is probably a big reason that the company was so hot here. It's not just, well, if there's no Flair and there's no Dusty, what's the point in watching? There was something good with Magnum, and there was something good with Arn, and there was something good with Ronnie Garvin, and obviously the Midnights and Wahoo and Jimmy, and just a ton. So they've made it matter. I mean, to the point that, by gosh, you and I have fallen in love with Pistol Pez Watley again.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Perhaps no better example than that. And Boogie Woogie, as we started the year, I was like, oh, Boogie Woogie. And now when I see him, I'm like, oh, that means Pez can't be far behind. This is awesome.
Yeah. They knew how to, they really, and Dusty, of course, was a booker back then, but they really knew how to make Flair here, make the world champion here, and make everybody want to, everybody wanted a chance at Flair, and that was good because that elevates the world title. And I get it where, you're talking about Vince Russo and everybody mattered. I always thought that was important. I remember back in '89 when I was with the WWF back then, that they had something as small as it may be, but when they would go to a pay-per-view, they would have something on TV about every matchup. Maybe an interview, a fly-in interview about every matchup. So they tried to elevate everything back then. And that's good. And of course, here's another thing. The guys could really work back then. And again, I'm not shitting on anybody today, but I mean, the guys back then worked every night, and that meant something.
Right.
And we don't have that now. And hopefully with the pandemic continues to release and get better, maybe we will get guys back on the road and girls back on the road to work every day, because that's really important. So a lot of things to unpack here, but it's good stuff. And we're kind of serious to start out our program here, which is unlike you and me.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.